2022 was one of the best years for Fallout 4 modding ever. We had what was genuinely one of the coolest and most heartfelt stories to ever come out of a Fallout 4 mod, overhauls to NPCs on a fundamental level to make them more intelligent and interactive, and one mod that I swear to you, I've been waiting for somebody to make since Fallout 4 released, and we finally got that mod in 2022. In this video, I'm showing you the top 10 Fallout 4 mods to come out in 2022 based on my own hyper-objective opinion. And believe me, there should be some surprises in this video, at least for some of you. But 2022 wasn't only a year where you could transform your Fallout 4. It also happened to be the year that I had the most videos demonetized ever. So to help fix that, here's today's video sponsor, Factor. Factor is just incredible because one day you're gonna have a knock at your door and get a big box just like this one that's going to be filled with food. This food is never frozen, will be ready for you to eat in 2 minutes or less, and it actually tastes good. You don't even have to use a plate, no dishes or cleanup required here. I feel like that alone should probably convince you, but it gets even better because you have a ton of flexibility on what you eat with Factor. If you're trying to be healthier, there are meal options like keto, vegan, or even calorie smart, but also just 27 meal choices each week, so you'll never get bored of what's available, and even 33 different add-on options on top of that. These Factor smoothies are incredible. I'm basically drinking one of these every single day at this point, and they even have a bunch of choices beyond that. And the real beauty of it is Factor gives you options. I'm able to open my fridge and have a ton of choices of what's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, so make your life easier now. Use my link or go to go.factor75.com and use code POGJUICEFEB50 for a full 50% off your first box. And once you click, my description will live update to count up the purchases. The first mod on this list, and spoiler, there isn't any particular order outside of the last mod being my personal mod of the year, but the first mod on this list is Reactor. Reactor is an EMB for Fallout 4, meaning it will visually overhaul the entire Commonwealth, largely thanks to some of the lighting changes brought by this one. Like most EMBs out there, this is going to be a single mod you could download that will make Fallout 4 look significantly more modern. It'll be a huge visual upgrade overall, at least most people agree that. And although EMBs are always going to inherently be subjective, you're going to pick between different visual styles you want on your game. One of the big reasons Reactor has immediately become very popular is it has a ton of features. Reactor is a true modern ENB option that's going to incorporate many of the features that have been added to ENB over the past few years. There's a nice long feature list to read off of, like better lens effects, you can see some raindrops impacting your screens during certain weathers, and even a customizable night vision mode. But when it comes to the actual visual style, I feel like Reactor does a pretty good job at making Fallout 4 feel a bit more vibrant, but not too much. Some other ENBs make Fallout 4 feel way too vibrant and alive, but I feel like Reactor actually occupies a nice middle ground. The world and the game definitely looks better. It is a clear visual upgrade, at least for me. But the vibrance isn't to a degree where you feel like you left the apocalypse and transitioned into a different time. It still has Fallout 4's familiar identity. And it's not just me who likes Reactor, as this has quickly become one of the most downloaded ENBs ever. Despite it only coming out in the past year, it has toppled several mods that have been around for many years. And overall, Reactor is just going to be one of the best modern ENB options you have for Fallout 4 right now, and a clear visual upgrade all throughout. Another mod that was huge in 2022 that is quickly becoming a permanent addition on many people's load orders is Shadow Boost. It's pretty simple. This mod will dynamically tweak several settings in Fallout 4 like shadows, LOD, and even God rays in order to dynamically give you better FPS. So this mod's going to have a target FPS. By default, that could be 60, or you could set it to something higher. And then as you play through Fallout 4, it'll dynamically tune a variety of settings around the game to try and get you to that FPS. Which, like, sure, all that sounds great. There's even been some other mods to do something similar, but the reason this mod has been huge for so many people are the results it actually delivers are huge gains in performance. I could run around Fallout 4 in downtown Boston with around 100 FPS, and frankly, I have never had that experience before in this game. This is the first time I'm able to experience downtown Boston with this many frames, and it's literally just thanks to Shadow Boost. Yeah, like, no, I bought that 4090, didn't get to 100 FPS. With Shadow Boost, I did get to 100 FPS. And especially if you are playing a highly modded Fallout 4, this becomes very handy. Some other mods out there can be taxing. A fully built up settlement with Sim settlements will drop me to under 60 FPS while I'm at that settlement. But with Shadow Boost, I am comfortably over 60 FPS at all times. You can see there are pretty huge performance gains. There definitely are some downsides to using this one. It's not like you're just gaining frames. There's going to be the occasional visual bugginess, and in particular, if you move rapidly or spin around, you can see as things try to adjust in the game. So you actually actually see some of the visual changes. But being able to play Fallout 4 with over 100 FPS the vast majority of the time makes those visual bugs very worth it for me. And I'm largely just talking about this from the perspective of higher end performance getting over 60 FPS, but for a lot of other players out there, if you're struggling to run Fallout 4 at all, even get to 60 FPS, this could be that difference maker. This could be the mod that allows you to actually play the game at 60 FPS, and that's why you'll see in many mod lists nowadays, Shadow Boost is a core feature. For the longest time, Fallout 4 really lacked creature packs, this being a bundle of new creatures to make those familiar locations in the world just be a bit more interesting to explore. But thankfully that changed in a pretty dramatic way in 2022. This in part thanks to the Pharaoh Ghoul expansion pack. I don't understand how it took 6.5 years for a mod like this to get released for the game. What it's going to do is add in a variety of new types of Pharaoh Ghoul into Fallout 4. There'll be a bunch here. You'll have some big ones, you'll have some fast ones, and even some Pharaoh Ghouls with ranged attacks now. And this mod as a whole serves to make Fallout 4 a lot more interesting and exploring in Fallout 4 more novel, because you encounter Pharaoh Ghouls all the time and they're pretty basic. They just kind of mindlessly run at you, but with this mod installed, those experiences, those encounters have a lot more going on with them. Each of the Pharaoh Ghouls added with this mod are lore friendly enough. None of them are going to really take you out of the game, and they are integrated, so they're just going to spawn where other Pharaoh Ghouls spawn, and just really nice to be constantly stumbling upon new enemies. This mod will make it so you do have quite a few additional frights in the game, as some of these Pharaoh Ghouls can really sneak up on you and scare you, but also occasionally just some tougher challenges. As you clear through a location, you may get one of the higher tier Pharaoh Ghouls, and they could actually really mess you up. And one of the best parts about this mod is all throughout 2022, it has continued to get updates, with one new Pharaoh Ghoul variant being added just a few weeks ago. The Ultimate M4 pack is generally the type of mod I don't cover in videos like this one, as this mod will be following that trend of legally, with permission, using assets from another game, making the Ultimate M4 in Fallout 4 largely thanks to Call of Duty rips. But this mod is in this video because I love this mod. So at its core, it's really just a super customizable M4. You could turn this into a Vietnam or almost service rifle-like weapon, or something far more tactical with all kinds of attachments and different paint jobs to choose from. And it has the mod integrations you would want. Support for see-through combat scopes as well as tactical reload, and even a bunch of unique variants scattered throughout the Commonwealth, and some of these are very unique. I covered this mod originally over a year ago, in January of 2022. This is right after it came out, and really as the year went on, I found myself constantly going back and using this weapon. If I just needed a weapon to spawn into myself to film some other things, like taking down enemies, this was the weapon I was spawning in for myself. It's not really like this mod is doing anything extraordinary, it's just that everything is done really well. The sounds are satisfying, it has a nice set of animations. In general, I think the weapon looks really good and has a good breadth of different customization options. And I think that's really just what makes me love this weapon so much. It's a really good, solid, all-around package that feels particularly relevant in Fallout 4's world. Then we do have MAIM. MAIM is going to be a combat overhaul for Fallout 4, impacting things in a variety of ways, but also having a core healing functionality for you as you play. The wound recovery system has a comprehensive rework with this mod. So now if you get hit, there's going to be a few steps you're going to have to take to fix that. First, you'll have to deal with stopping the bleed, and yes, as you're bleeding, you'll be losing health over time. You're going to have to deal with the pain of the injury you just sustained. It's not like the pain is just a random thing. This pain will have actual gameplay impacts. You'll probably have to take chems to get through a fight unless you could somehow power through these. And then there is a component with a long-term wound recovery. And all of that is even broken down into where you are hit, as that too will have a pretty big impact on what happens next. One of the pretty cool parts about this mod is there are two versions. If what I just described seemed a little bit overwhelming and overbearing to you, you can alternatively use MAIM Lite, which is going to have fewer chem items and just in general be a bit more straightforward. And this really does impact how you play. If you try and run and gun with MAIM installed, you'll quickly realize, oh, I'm bleeding out with 2 broken legs and I could barely move. But that's only one side of MAIM. The other side that also makes this incredibly interesting to play with is all of these same features are going to apply to enemies. Land hits on them and they're going to also be bleeding out, dealing damage over time. Headshots will almost always be lethal if an enemy isn't wearing a helmet, and you could even target specific limbs with this mod. Target an enemy's arms to try and make them drop their weapon, or even their legs so they'll fall down on the ground. Or even cripple enemies enough and they will flee from combat. It offers a bit of a unique approach to making Fallout 4's combat more interesting. Not just more damage dealt and received, but genuine new mechanics around bleeds, pain, and how cripples are handled and resolved. It is absolutely a mod you could download just on its own, it'll really overhaul how you have to play this game. Mutant Menagerie is one of the best mods to come to Fallout 4, and in 2022 it got an expansion to that original mod with Horrors of the Deep Fog. This is going to implement a ton of new creatures for Far Harbor and even a couple into the Commonwealth. So on one hand, this mod just does a really good job at fleshing out those level lists and making exploring Far Harbor far more interesting. You're going to have new creatures both large and small, both passive and aggressive. And there's definitely a healthy dose of real-world influence here combined with the themes of Far Harbor. This mod truly brings some horrifying sea creatures to life in Fallout 4, and a lot of these fit in really well. They're kind of occupying a role that not too many other creatures were in Far Harbor. So if all this mod did was add in a bunch of new creatures for Far Harbor and some into the Commonwealth, it would probably make its way into this video, because that alone is pretty cool. But this mod actually takes things even a step further, as Horrors of the Deep Fog genuinely integrates these creatures into the world. They're going to have different tiers to them, and even at the highest tier, special fog-touched creatures. These are stronger, unique variants of creatures impacted by the fog on Far Harbor. They have a distinctive color, they're much larger, and of course they are incredibly tough, basically giving you a ton of unique boss fights all around the island. But even beyond that, there's going to be a ton of new crafting recipes added with these new creatures as well. It's not just some more enemies to take out, but some genuinely interesting new features and items that you'll be able to craft after you take those enemies out. As I mentioned earlier in this video, creature mods are definitely needed for Fallout 4, and the Mutant Menagerie series is one of the best options out there, including not only the core mod and Horrors of the Deep Fog, but also Nuclear Safari. This came out earlier this year as well. It didn't quite make this list, but if you're downloading any of these other ones, you should probably download Nuclear Safari also. Then we have two of the smallest mods that I'll cover in this entire video, and yet two mods that are still complete game changers for me. NPC Accuracy Revised will make it so an NPC's accuracy will vary by enemy type. Bugs are dumb, at least relatively speaking, and bugs mutated by radiation also quite dumb. So why on earth can they snipe me from what feels like miles away in Fallout 4? Well, with NPC Accuracy Revised, that can no longer happen. This mod will put those darn bugs in their place and make it so they are relatively inaccurate, because yeah, it's a bug. And this extends even further. A raider hopped up on chems, they probably aren't going to be the most accurate shot from a distance. But on the other hand, raider leaders and even trained units like the gunners are going to be significantly more accurate. In general, this mod will actually lower the accuracy of many of the enemies in the game, but I think what this does is create an interesting hierarchy when you do encounter higher tier enemies. Stumble upon the Brotherhood of Steel or even a bunch of synths that are trained or even just straight up robots, and you will really feel that accuracy difference. Fighting raiders is far easier because they miss a bunch of the time, but fight a bunch of Brotherhood of Steel and you'll realize, wow, they're landing almost every shot. This is kind of crazy and a far greater challenge. It almost feels like it's making the AI more intelligent. Overall, it is a relatively simple mod, but I think one that has a big impact. And in general, I think when you pair this with something like MAIM, it really could create a fun experience in Fallout 4 where some enemies do have some serious strength. But the next small mod that I've quite literally been waiting for since the release of Fallout 4 and has probably created hours of additional free time for me in 2022 is no crafting animations. And what this will do is remove the enter and exit animation from crafting tables in Fallout 4. Why do I need to go through this prolonged animation every single time I want to modify something? Do you know how many weapons and armor mods I cover in a year? It's a lot, and before this mod, I would spend so much time raging at how long these animations took. In particular when editing armor, because when you edit armor, apply a paint job to a power armor, let's say, there's a lot of trips to the crafting table. And the power armor crafting station animation in particular is ridiculously long, and I hate it. Thankfully with this mod, I never have to see that again, and it is saving me quite a bit of extra time. Do you remember how earlier in this video I mentioned that the Ultimate M4 pack is generally the type of mod I don't cover in these types of videos? Well, on the complete opposite side, the Charger Pistol is the type of mod I always cover in these types of videos. It's a custom-made, lore-friendly weapon that not only has unique features to it, but also fills out a gap in Fallout 4's weapon offerings overall. This mod is just awesome. What the Charger Pistol actually is a new modular electromagnetic or Gauss weapon that you can get around mid-game in Fallout 4. Right off the bat, I think this thing looks incredible. Although not technically being lore-friendly, it fits perfectly into Fallout 4's world, and even more specifically into its leveled list. The Charger Pistol offers itself as a really nice high-tier pistol option, so if you are going for a pistol build, this could be like the final version you get. You can deal some serious damage with this thing, and even more as it does have a ton of customization options. And I like these a lot because they really embrace the kind of high-tech nature of the weapon, but also the makeshift nature of the wasteland. And there's going to be two core versions of this mod. There's a revolver variant that you could charge for a huge damage per shot, or a drum-based version that's going to be a more familiar semi-automatic. And let me tell you, the animations on the revolver variant alone make me love this weapon, and in general, just really satisfying to use. And that'll bring us almost to what I consider my mod of the year, which I'm sure some of you have already figured out putting 2 and 2 together. But first, we definitely have some honorable mentions. Galactic Mercs and Music is a DLC-sized mod experience that you should definitely experience. Climbable ladders are finally added in a Bethesda Game Studios game, and that definitely needs to be mentioned. 20 Leagues Under the Sea is like the single most famous piece of Fallout 4 cut content being added as an actual player home. And Project Zeta is an incredibly fun Mothership Zeta-like weapon pack DLC for Fallout 4. But the best mod of 2022 for Fallout 4 is Fallout 4 Point Lookout. A group of modders completely remade an entire DLC from Fallout 3 in Fallout 4's engine. They recreated this down to every single weapon, every piece of clothing, as well as every single quest with full fan-made voice acting. And shortly after this mod came out, 2 of the main people behind it ended up getting jobs at Double 11 and now work on Fallout with Fallout 76. That is just such a feel-good, wholesome story of having this absolutely incredible remake mod finally dropping, and then those people riding off into the sunset to officially work on this franchise. We constantly talk about those DLC-sized mods for Fallout 4, as well as the remake projects out there, and getting to see one, even if it is just a DLC, actually release is just incredible. And it immediately got the modding community overall active and making mods for the mod. The Mutant Menagerie team created custom creatures to be spawned in Point Lookout, and fans even used AI to make it so this mod has a voiced protagonist. And for me, what has been the best testament to how high quality and how accurate of a recreation this mod is, you could be playing through the Fallout 4 remake of Point Lookout and actually get stuck on something, not really know how to progress a quest, and look up guides around the original Fallout 3 quest, and they'll be relevant enough that you can use them for the Point Lookout Fallout 4 recreation. This mod is absolutely incredible and a perfect way to experience Point Lookout overall. With that said, that is a look at my personal top 10 mods for Fallout 4 in 2022. It was truly an incredible year for Fallout 4 modding, but 2023 may end up being even better. In this video, I covered some of the big DLC-sized mods on their way in 2023, and some of these are coming out really soon. It's not like this is a pipe dream.